Hey, what's up, everybody? So, here at the theaters, once again, there's 3 videos that are being done. Today we are seeing Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. Um, I am not expecting anything out of this movie. I want it to be so bad it's good. I want it to go over the top. I want it to be really gory, and go further than it did in the first one. Um, the first one was not very gory, and it was kind of stupid. So we'll have to see what happens. I'm also here with everybody over there. You can see. Yep, there's Patrick and everything like that. So we're going to have some fun and see what happens. Normally don't record during this part. What the hell is this commercial? We're helping a bunch of people. Oh, they let them go first. Kindness. Pass it on. Bullshit. Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back from the theaters, and oh boy, yeah, I'm in a different setting than I normally am. Normally, I'm taking my phone and I'm recording, and I'm sitting on the couch and kind of relaxing. But I thought this time that I would attempt to just see what everything's like. If this is kind of like a better thing, one, you can see more of me. I don't know if you really need to, and you can see the lovely backdrop here that I use for every one of my streams that I have, my little studio that I've got, and then little, set up somewhat. I'm not as hardcore as some other people with their studios, but hey, that's just the way that I roll. But let us talk Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, or as I've been calling it, Winnie the Pooh 2, Blood and Your Mom 2. Oh God. Okay. So, the first question that most people are probably going to ask about this is it better than the first movie? Yes and no. There are things that are much better about this movie, and there are things that are just as dumb, if not dumber. One, I think, is let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good before we get into the bad. And some of the things that I'm kind of disappointed with in terms of this movie. Okay, yes, I know. How can I be disappointed with Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2? But there is one major thing that I'm disappointed with, and we'll get into it when we get into a little more of the movie. I will be talking some spoilers here. I don't know how spoiler-free people really want this type of review for this type of movie, but fuck it. I have to say about a couple things about the movie. So, the good things about this movie. First off, it's way gorier than the first movie. A lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot. There are plenty of heads flying. There's plenty of things going through people's bodies. There's plenty of necks being scraped on. There's plenty of Deadpool-looking moments in this movie. Yes, this one guy takes a shotgun blast to the face, and they show you his face, and then later on he's in the hospital, and he's sitting there with Christopher Robin, and he unwraps like he's the fucking Joker in the original Batman movie. Not the original, but Tim Burton's Batman movie, because that one for me is the original, even though, there was the cheesy Adam West Batman movie where, some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. He unwraps his head, and then it shows it, and he looks like fucking Deadpool from that Wolverine Origins movie. I shit you not, out loud, I said, oh my God, how did they get Deadpool for this movie? So the gore is really ramped up, okay? And the production values are a lot better. And I really enjoyed the costumes that were used for all of our monsters in this movie, right? Even though I kind of like Pooh's better in the original in a little way, just because, yeah, it was cheesier. It looked more like just a mask, and maybe you could think that he was actually a little more human under there. Maybe it was just a mask that he really was wearing. This, they kind of really go, it's still like a mask. It still feels like a mask, but underneath the mask, especially when we get to the eyes and everything like that, it definitely looks more like an animal rather than a human that's underneath there, right? And I do like the way his hands look better in this than they looked in the last one, but he doesn't feel as like bulky in this. He feels more like he's a guy that carries all his weight in his gut up front right? So like when you look at him, like his legs are super skinny, his arms are super skinny, but he's got this giant, mound of rebound that he's got going on right over here. So it's different. Where the other one, it seemed like he was a lot more like, I don't know, form fit to himself. Like everything seemed proportionate, is what I'm trying to say within the first movie, right? Piglet, I liked a little better in this in terms of the makeup that they used for Piglet. Made him a little more like more disgusting in terms of like he's definitely, shorter and fatter. Where the Piglet in the first one, I didn't think was that bad, right? A little more piggish, maybe a little more faker. Here, it's not so much. And I thought Piglet died in the first movie. I thought he got shocked in the water, and that was the end of Piglet, and all we had was Pooh at the end of the last movie. And in here, Piglet's back, but Piglet doesn't last very long. And then they have something at the end, which we'll talk about when we get to like the ending stuff. I kind of want to go through just the bad and good, and then I'm gonna talk about story and shit about the story I didn't like, because that's one of the bad things, and it'll be there towards the end. This one is funnier, I think, than the first one. Some of the stuff funnier because it's so bad it's good type of funny. Like it's ridiculous and I shouldn't be laughing, but I'm laughing, especially during the raver scene. There was a little bit before the movie where they talked about like how the director talked about and creator of the series and the actor that played Christopher Robin, who also happens to be directing a Peter Pan horror movie that they're doing. So they're doing, if everybody doesn't know already, they're doing the Poohniverse, right? That's one of the movies that they're doing, is like Poohniverse Assemble, where they're taking all of these childhood fairy tale public domain things and they're throwing it into an Avengers style movie where we're going to have all of these characters and these monsters together wreaking havoc on whomever is going to be dying and surviving in that movie, right? And so they talked about what their plans were, where you have a Peter Pan movie, you have a Pinocchio movie, which they say they feel like it's going to be, or they're trying to make it like Child's Play in that regard. And they even gave away some stuff in there where they talked about how there's even a part where Pinocchio tears off somebody's skin and wears it. And what's cool about that, honestly, I think this is like the coolest thing that they talked about, was that they actually got the original puppet creator for Chucky, and he's making Pinocchio's puppet. I think that's fucking cool, which also means that they're going to do practical effects for that, which I'm all for. If you know me, I love practical effects when it comes to horror, and I think this movie had a good mixture of CGI and practical effects, so I kind of put that in the good column, but there is some bad to it at the same time, but it mostly comes down to the kills and how some of the kills are, right? I think that these ones are definitely a lot more violent. They're a lot more brutal. They're a lot more in your face. They are definitely bloodier. And if you're really into that type of stuff, I think that you're going to really enjoy that portion of the movie. You're not going to shy away from it. And I did enjoy that portion of the movie. I actually enjoyed it more than the first one. I feel like the first one, that the kills were there, and the goriest one was the one where the chick had her head underneath the car and like he ran over the car. But even then, it wasn't like, here they would have done that really close up, where there it like happens and you see the blood spray, right? From what I remember from the last time I saw that movie, which really, I think I've only seen it once, to be honest with you. So if I'm forgetting something and something maybe a little gorier, yeah, I just don't remember it as well. And I just came back from this movie. And then there are a couple of other little things just kind of here and there. Some characters were a little bit better in this. Some of the characters were better fleshed out. And that's about it. That is where I draw the line. With everything else, it was just bad. And from just the beats that they do with the story, from the actions that characters make, I know this is a horror movie. I know horror movies, they make bad decisions all the goddamn time. Oh, I hear a bunch of creaking shit up in the attic. Maybe we should go check that out. That's where all the people died before. We definitely should go up there. But the car's over here, and we could just totally leave this haunted mansion, never come back, and survive, and everything will be okay. Nah, let's go upstairs and possibly be killed. Like, that's a horror movie. That's what happens in those things, and that's what happens in this, right? It's the same fucking thing that you've got going on, where it's just like bad decision after bad decision after bad decision. With the kills, even though they are gorier than the first movie, the downside of it is there are a lot of off-screen kills. And not just off-screen kills. Like, and it's hard to call them off-screen kills because you see them, but more like shadow kills. Maybe that's a better way to do it, where they're killing somebody, but you're watching the shadows do it. Like, and even the director had said that he had 6 more minutes of kills in this movie that didn't get added to it. And to my, like, I would say, why the fuck not? With the runtime that it is, like, just adding 6 minutes. He's like, oh, so wait for the DVD. And I'm just like, dude, you should just put them in there. Like, just do it. Don't get all half-assed about it, or don't say, well, it's because of time and I want to fit an hour and 60 or 30 minutes or whatever it is going to be. Why can't you make it an hour and 36 minutes? Just add them in. Like, it doesn't do you any disservice to having it, because honestly, that's what you got going for your movie. You don't really have much else, right? Again, the look of Pooh, I'm not completely 100% sold on it, and Young Pooh, I did not like the look at all, and I'll explain that in just a moment, because I'm going to talk about the story and the dumb shit that went on in this movie. They changed Christopher Robin. He's a totally different character, and they kind of explain like how that worked for this movie. And I get it, but there's something at the beginning of the movie that is just nonsense, absolute nonsense for everything that's there. And I don't know how that even got fucking resolved, if it even got fucking resolved, because I'm still trying to figure out where exactly it is in this to determine whether or not this actually got resolved in this movie. And it's just that there are just, like I said, dumb decisions constantly, and there are even dumber stuff from like the police that are involved in things in this movie. So the biggest disappointment, before I go into the real ridiculous stuff in this movie, and the spoilers truly begin, is that the writer of this movie, well, one of the writers of this movie, because I think it was written by the director and this guy, one of the writers of this movie wrote one of my favorite horror films, Summer of '84. If you've never seen Summer of '84, it's on Shudder. You should go and watch it. I did a whole review on Summer of '84. You can go back to the podcast and you can listen to it if you don't want to watch the movie. And I am fucking baffled by what I see in this. So what they really try to do is they try to give more lore to the characters here in this Winnie the Pooh thing. I know it's because they want to create a universe out of this. They got a bigger budget because the first movie did gangbusters, because everybody was talked to death about this Winnie the Pooh horror movie that's coming out, because Winnie the Pooh is going into the public domain. Here's this horror company that's come and try to make their quick buck, which is what they did. They made a quick buck on that, and they made a lot of quick bucks. And the thing is there's people that really like this movie. They do. And I'm just not one of those people. I went and saw this movie because I had nothing better to do. And my cousin and Pat, they were like, come on, you have to go with us. Fine, let's go. I'll go see it with you guys because I want to see if this is a train wreck or if this has some redeeming things. Honestly, it kind of does have some redeeming things, right? And it's just shy of being a decent horror movie and not being in the dirt, right? And it's going to have an audience. That's the thing. And I'm not necessarily I'm its target audience for some of it, but not for all of it. And some of you out there might be the target audience for this movie, and you may tell me in the comments below how I'm just blowing fucking smoke up your ass or my own ass, in that I'm wrong and this was way better than the first one. I'm not saying that it's better. I'm just or worse, I should say, but I just don't know if it's better than the first one. So the basis of the story of this movie is that the 100-acre massacre has happened, right? At the end of the first movie, Pooh kills all those teenagers that went to that house for like a little weekend away, and you had that stupid shit with the girl, and she has her trauma, but she dies anyway at the end of the film, and Christopher Robin is the last one to survive because Pooh keeps him alive, and then he walks off, and now we're witnessing the aftermath of what's happened. Okay, so your narration starts at the beginning of the movie and explains kind of that stuff and talks about how Christopher Robin saw Pooh, but Christopher Robin had blinders on when it came to Pooh, and Pooh was really doing bad shit and was a bad fucking bear back in the day, but Christopher Robin never saw it because he was just focusing on the fun that he was having with Winnie the Pooh. So you then go into current day, and Christopher Robin got his medical degree, and he's a nurse, I believe now. I don't believe he's a doctor yet. I think he's just a nurse. And, but he's still getting death threats from people. His parents, he lives with his parents. His parents are getting death threats from people. They have a little sister. And we also find out that he had a brother back in the day that was kidnapped. Right away at this point, and this is about 15 minutes in the movie, I knew exactly what the big twist was going to be. You probably know what the big twist is going to be by me just saying the line, he had a brother. Yeah, okay. So they basically, then we switch over, we learn that Pooh and Piglet, they got away. So Piglet's alive, right? Now, I could have sworn he died in the first movie. But Piglet's alive, and they do explain something about them and why this universe can continue, even with the ending that we have here. And so they run away, and they end up hiding with Tigger and Owl. So we get Tigger and Owl in this movie, right? And I think Tigger probably has the best makeup out of any of them that are there, but it's kind of weird because I like the mask that they use for Tigger, and I like the claws, and I like the way the tail, like he has the tail and it whips around, even though it looks really cheesy. But I'm not too big on the shredded clothes thing, almost like he's got like a shredded straitjacket or something like that he's wearing around. It's not quite that, or like shredded prison garb. Maybe that's more of what I'm thinking of. And it's not bad, but he's the best character in this movie, and he's not in it for very long, and it's because he actually talks and does the one-liners. Like, he is the Freddy Krueger of this movie. He kills people and he says stupid one-liners, and his stupid one-liners are kind of funny. In fact, one of the best ones in this movie, which was Pat's favorite, and I don't have Pat here to talk about this movie with me, but he goes and they like, so they, the police, Pooh has killed a couple of people. He's killed the hunters. And in one brutal scene where he takes a shotgun and shoves it right up the guy's head and then just kills him. I thought he'd like shove it in there and pull the trigger and like blow the head up or something. But no, he just shoves the shotgun all the way through the top of the head. And so you have, he's done that. They go back, and now the cops have been investigating it, and they find the tree that they live in. They go downstairs, and then they go, and this room opens up. This door just randomly fucking opens up. Okay? The house is creepy. You see bloody shit all over the place. There's like skulls and fucking brains over here and parts of heads and people's limbs and shit on a motherfucking table. Okay? It's like this table that's back here or even over here. Instead of this being, instead of that being Cartman back here and Audrey too sitting over here, this is a fucking head. This is some human's fucking head, and we got arms and legs and all this other shit over here. And the cops are seeing it, and they're just like, something's not right in this place. I don't understand it. I mean, it looks like they've got chairs, but there's some things over here, and I think there's like a human. Is this what could this possibly be? Looks kind of like a human skull, but I don't know. It might not be anything. Maybe everything's gonna be okay. And so a door randomly fucking opens. This door that's locked in the back, it opens up. And what are the two cops gonna do? If you were me, you'd get the fuck out of there. You would just fucking leave. And it honestly, there have been a lot of smart horror movies lately, and I get it, this is not going to be one of those smart horror movies. There are a lot of smart horror movies lately that these people are just like, fuck it, no, I'm not staying here, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And you could have them be like smart like that and go to leave, and then what happens in the open door that they decide to fucking go into is that, Tigger then goes, because one of the cops goes, fuck it, let's bounce. And then Tigger's like, no, that's my line. And then he kills him. Off screen, kills those two off screen. And then you see one guy, like, he's trying to leave the tree and he's got his arms on the outside. And then, I can't hold on. And like that. And then the blood splatter. But like, you could have them be like, nope, we need to get out of here. We need to talk to somebody. We need to do something. Be a little smarter. And then as they leave, Tigger is blocking the way. There you go. I just did the exact same scene for you, just without people being fucking stupid. But, that's me. And this is 2020, and I don't make movies. And, as much as I can give, again, I want to be absolutely clear about this, because some of this, I do for entertainment and for things that I'm watching, and I'm very animated when I talk about these movies, especially when they're bad to me. It's my opinion. Other people are going to really like it, and I don't discount the people that made this movie, okay? I don't make fucking movies. A lot of people don't make fucking movies, and they have done a lot, and you do hard work even when you make something that's bad or that I don't like or that somebody doesn't like. They put a lot of heart and soul and blood and sweat and tears into making these things that I don't do. So I give them props on that they were able to make money with the first one. They're probably going to make some money with this one, but they're making enough and getting enough funding to do more of these movies, right? We even saw a bit of fucking Bambi. Oh, the other good thing I want to say is there are a lot of little Easter eggs in it. There was an Easter egg for the Bambi movie where they're talking about in one of the newspapers, there's like zombie deer toxin goes out, and it's like you can read through it for a second. And I wish I could. That's where I want to have like a pause button. I want to actually read the little article that they have on screen, because I like little things like that. So they do mention the Bambi movie, and we got to see a little bit of it, but I don't think we saw enough of it to be like, oh yeah, I definitely want to see it. It's like hunters in the woods, and then all of a sudden, like, they shoot, and then it cuts to Bambi out there as a big giant monster, and it knocks over a car. And then the director of that movie was talking about, it's like Jaws meets something else. I forgot what he was talking about. Like Jaws meets Hereditary. That's what it fucking was. I'm like, sure, it's going to be just like fucking Hereditary. Right. Jaws meets Hereditary. Because this was like, I don't fucking know. The Omen meets fucking, not even The Omen. What this is The Shining meets, we'll say The Shining meets The Omen. Why don't we do fucking that or some shit like that? Like, it's just ridiculous. So, like that, there's a lot of scenes like that, right? And you also got in the beginning of the movie, they talk about how, like, because of what happened, there's two different paths for Christopher Robin and the Pooh gang, when they're both shunned by society in different ways, and they both realize that they need to change for themselves and it seems like they're talking about how, like, with Christopher Robin, that everybody is blaming him for the murders that Pooh did, and it's weighing on him, right? And it's bringing him further down and down, and maybe it's bringing him into madness to where maybe Christopher Robin really starts to emulate what Pooh does and is becoming more animalistic. And that's just based upon the thing. And I thought, oh man, that could actually be cool. And you know where they go with it? Fucking nowhere. They don't go anywhere with that bullshit. Like, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, he had a change in him. And the real thing is that he had a change in him is like, literally, I feel, because they have a different actor. That is literally why the line is there, because there was a change in Christopher Robin. He had to change himself, meaning he became something, like he did his hair differently. Like he used to be a blonde and now he's brown because he dyed his hair because he had to be somebody different. And he's pretending to be somebody else than he was before, right? He's still Christopher Robin, but it's a different actor. Like there could have been other things that were there with that just, I really wanted to see that maybe they met up. And when you do something like what they did with Pooh, right, and how they explained what they are, that you would be like, oh, they meet up in that section where Christopher Robin really is kind of being like, he's becoming the antagonist, and he realizes Pooh things, and Pooh's killing, and he's killing, and then they meet up, and like, who's going to be the bigger bad guy? Like, they could have done something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing out fucking ideas for here, but instead, Christopher Robin's just really timid, and he's really like beside himself, and he's kind of like with everybody, he wants to push people away, but he's going to see a therapist, and the therapist is helping him try to remember what happened to his brother, because his brother got kidnapped before by some random guy, and they've never been able to ID who the guy was. And then he has one of his therapist sessions that he sees like images of what's going on. And then eventually he sees this guy, this shadowy figure, and it happens to be the janitor that works at the place that he works at, the hospital he works at, that's constantly checking up on him. What? Like, okay. And then oh my god. And so as we go through the movie, we see Pooh like kill more people. Like he and the first kills that he does are against some like teenagers that are in an RV or like a camper out in the middle of the forest, and like, you know, they're trying to use a Ouija board to summon the spirits of the 100-acre wood. Woo! And actually, you know what? That scene is pretty good. I'm gonna give that scene props because they're acting the way that a lot of people would act with like Ouija boards nowadays that don't really believe in it all. Like, oh my God, it's not doing anything. I just want to get out of here. And then when there's a giant crash on top of the RV and they're like, did you hear that? And the one girl's like, what the fuck? No, I didn't hear that shit hitting the top of our thing, that giant fucking noise that was going on outside. And I was like, that's my kind of character. Because that's exactly like my response would have been to that situation. And then it's like, one of the girls gets stabbed from the outside by Pooh with a bar or something like that. And then one of the girls, you know, they tell her to close the door when she does, and her hand gets caught in the door, and it looks really terrible. Like, it doesn't look like it looks so fake. It doesn't look like a real hand at all. And I didn't even realize that. God damn it. And I didn't even realize that was actually her hand until she brought it in. She was like this. I'm like, oh, it's her hand? I thought she like closed it real fast and it hit Pooh's hand. Like, that's why it stopped Pooh from coming in for a moment. But no, it stopped. Like, Pooh hit it against her hand. Somehow it got in between the door and the outside of the trailer because she was going to go close the door. He grabbed it real fast and then slam it shut real fast. I don't know what the fuck happened. But then, you know, Pooh starts lifting up the camper, and eventually one of the girls gets out, and the other one that had her hand crushed in the door, it gets set on fire, so she's inside while it's on fire, but then she managed to get out somehow, even though we see her, like, burning to death, and then, like, really brutal. The other thing I'm going to say about this is most of the people that get the brutal deaths are women in this movie. I'm not trying to say anything specific, but it's really noticeable. Like, there are maybe 2 male deaths that you get to see everything. But with the women, it is like ultra torture where we're doing. Because like this girl, she gets like the one of the dudes, he gets his, you know, face blown off. And the other guy gets the shotgun thing through the head. I'm not saying that that's not brutal, right? That is pretty goddamn brutal. But the girl in the RV, like literally she gets every one of her arms broken and we have to watch Pooh do it, right? Every one of her arms. Okay, I'm fucking stupid, but she gets her arms and legs broken. And he basically is like standing there and we snap. The only one we don't watch is the last one. And then he puts her head face into a bear trap and face first stomps her head into the bear trap so the bear trap closes on her head. Like, and then you have the other girl that's like horribly disfigured from the fire. Like, she's become Quasimodo for some fucking reason. Like, because the fire did that like instantly. Her skin's all bubbly and everything like that. And then she gets her head split open by Owl with a giant like staff, right? Like, and then even with some of the other kills, like, it's always seems to be like the ladies getting their heads chopped off and ripped up. And we got one of the worst things that I hate to happen with shit going into people's feet because my foot is already fucking, even in the theater, I'm like, God damn it. Like, I don't need to see that. You know, it seemed like it was overtly too much. And I get it. There's a lot of times when horror movies do this, but to me, it felt a little odd. Right? Because usually you get 50-50. If they're going to show a lot of stuff that's on screen, it's going to be everybody, right? Where a lot of the on-screen stuff was particularly just women, and I'm not trying to be like this is an agenda type thing or anything like that. I'm just saying that it felt odd, and I don't know why, right? So, anywho, so you have him do those kills. They kill the people, the hunters in the forest that are trying to go after them because he killed his girlfriend or whatever it was. And it looks like that guy looks like he's also in the Bambi movie too. So maybe he dies in 2 of their films. I don't fucking know. Also, yeah, like I said, the guy who plays Christopher Robin in this, he's directing the Peter Pan movie. If I didn't mention that earlier, I'll mention it again if I already did mention it once. So you have, you have this, eventually Christopher Robin, like I said, he sees the visions and then he finally figures out who it is. And as we're watching, Pooh is being hunted down by the people, and Owl is the only one that talks for most of the time. And I have a theory about Owl, I'll say at the end of the review, of who I think that really is. But basically, Owl is saying that, look, we've gone at this for far too long, that we're being hunted. Now it's time for us to be the hunters and them to be the prey and destroy this town. So that's your basic premise of the movie, is that, Christopher Robin is trying to deal with the fact that he's being blamed for this stuff and that it connects back somehow to his brother going missing when he was a kid, because that's how he got to be friends with Pooh. And then Pooh and the gang turning the revenge against the town once again, or against the town because they've been hunting them because they're bad animal people. That's basically what we got, and it's a reason for Pooh and the gang to go on a rampage. And in this, Pooh does most of the kills. Tigger does a bunch, but Pooh is the one that you see majority killing everybody. Kind of like the last movie. I think Piglet did a couple, but Pooh was your majority person that was doing all the stuff. So the big thing that happens in the climax of the movie, after we go through so I'm going to talk about the big climax scene in the rave before I talk about the stupidity that is what Pooh and his friends are. Okay? So the big climax that happens is Pooh and Tigger go attack a rave. And this sequence is honestly, for the gorehound in me, is fun, and for the kills it's fun, but it's kind of silly at the same time, because it just, I don't know, why would you just attack this specific rave? I guess everybody in the town's there, and this is where you also get some boob. So if you want to see a little titty, you get a little titty. You get like 1 titty, 2 titties, something like that go through here in some people's outfits. Like one girl just has 1 boob just hanging out there, just it's there. And so it kind of gets split up to where Pooh's attacking everybody first, and then Tigger joins in and he kills a bunch of the people, and then eventually Christopher Robin and Tigger square off for a moment as he kills some other people. Like the hosters of the rave didn't want Chris to be there by himself because she wanted to be, hooray, be the talk of the year. And if Christopher's going to be there, then they're going to talk about a murder, but we wouldn't really think that you did it, even though we're fucking calling you a murderer. Like, it's like, okay, that stuff's stretching too far. And so he goes through and basically Pooh chases down most of the people. And this is where you get a lot of decent kills. There's a lot of beheadings, but you also get a lot of shadow kills, right? Where you see like somebody get beheaded just off in the distance. It doesn't actually happen on screen, but then you see like somebody get their head chopped off with like some little, like, I don't know what those things are called. You kind of roll them back and forth if you're sawing somebody, you're kneading dough. Sometimes they use those to like break the dough off. Like basically he does that. Another person gets burned inside of a boiler, because if you're running away from a homicidal maniac bear animal thing, that you're going to jump into a boiler that could possibly be turned on. And that's exactly what happens there. And then I love it when the girl tries to stop him and Pooh just fucking slaughters her. Okay. Like, and then you got Tigger coming by, and Tigger doing, his little fucking lines there. Good Lord. They're just, oh God, I can't remember the exact line that he said, besides the that's my line thing. There's a dumb Pooh line at the end of the movie too. But it's just, oh my God. It's really terrible when he meets them. And I thought he was going to try to do some of the Tigger lines, like from, what we remember Tigger saying, but he doesn't say any of that. He just goes and he kills indiscriminately and kills all the people. And one of the things that he does to the fat chick, that she's like below him, and the other girl's like, he's below you. And then he takes his like nails and he's like this, and he's like stabbing him through beneath her, and that's how it goes in her foot. And then he's just like milking her blood by just constantly stabbing her all over the place till she dies. Yeah, it's just, and eventually Chris and Tigger get in a fight, and Chris ends up shooting. Chris only has 3 bullets in the gun because I'll explain that in a second, but he shoots him once and then wildly shoots twice and runs away. Eventually, you do get the fight and the showdown between, Pooh and Chris. And before the stupid ending thing that they do, we have to learn about, what did Chris find out? So Chris, he figures out who the person is, right? I said it's the janitor. It's the one that kidnapped his brother and a bunch of other people at his birthday party. This was their birthday party, is what he said, which I think was trying to say that they're twins, but they don't really look like twins, or they have the same birthday. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. The other thing is, too, before I get into this, too, is that there's the mom and the dad, right, that he lives with that have him, but they also have a young daughter, and the daughter's like maybe 6, maybe 5 or something like that. But the mom, like, I get it. If the mom is supposed to be 40, right, I can see it, right? So you had Christopher at 20, and then at 35, you had the oopsie baby and this girl because your son got kidnapped and never came back. So you decided to have another kid because that was the best thing to fill the void of not having your other son anymore. And she's really young, and Christopher has got to be in his like mid 20s. So let's say you had it at 20, she's 41. We'll say around there, maybe 40, but she really looks like she's in her 50s, and her husband looks like he's in his 40s, right? That she had the other girl in mid 40s, and it bothered me the entire time. I'm not saying that, the woman can't be older than the dude, but like, would you have really had a kid at 46 now that you look like you're 52? Like, she could have been older than that, and she's having a 6-year-old kid. I don't know. Don't at me, bro. And it bothered me with that. So he, like I said, I'm trying to get back to the main dumb fucking thing. So he confronts the janitor, right? He goes to the place, confronts the janitor, and this is where the janitor lays it all out. And we heard about this guy earlier at some point in the movie where there was this doctor that was doing experiments. And we find out that this dude, this janitor, had a bunch of gambling debt that he needed to deal with, and he's it's the type of people that make you disappear. And so, and to deal with this gambling debt, this doctor who wanted to do experiments on people said, hey, why don't you go round up a bunch of kids? Because I need a bunch of kids for my fucking experiment. So I'm going to go get a bunch of kids, and we're going to go, we'll do something with them. And so he got liquored up and was like, okay, there's a slumber party over here, and I'm going to steal a bunch of kids. And so he stole all these kids from the same fucking place, and nobody, except for Christopher Robin, got a fucking view of this guy. Like, how many kids? He stole like 7 kids, is what he said. 7 fucking kids is who this guy stole from this one fucking party. That these are the worst fucking parents in the world that aren't watching over their goddamn children. Okay, it's fucking stupid. Okay, I almost said another word that I can't say here, but it's fucking stupid in the way that it is. That like nobody, absolutely nobody had any inkling that their kids were disappearing. Oh, I just thought Sally and Johnny just went off to the forest to fucking screw for a little bit. It's okay. They're at the age that they can fucking do that if they want. I'm gonna have another beer because this is the type of party this is. I'm gonna get fucking drunk. Yeah, that's right. Fucking lit. Get at it, motherfucker. Like, I don't get it. And so he kidnaps all the kids and gives it to the scientist. And guess what the scientist did? Created Pooh and the gang. So Pooh and the gang are the kids that were kidnapped, is what we learned. How does this relate to anything that happened in the first movie? Because in the first movie, the idea was that, Christopher Robin knew them, and I get it. They explain it in the beginning of the movie where they say, like, what Christopher Robin experienced wasn't necessarily the right thing, right? That it was all just like, it was in his head that they were really good when they really weren't. That's how they retconned it, okay? But in the first movie, it was that he hung out with them, and then when he went off to school, because he wasn't there anymore and nobody was there to play with Pooh and the gang and take care of them, they went feral. And then when he came back to introduce his girlfriend to Pooh and the gang that now was feral, they killed his fiance and started the whole thing up that happened and started torturing Christopher because Christopher left them, wasn't able to give them food, and they had to fucking eat Eeyore because he's too depressed to live. Like, that's the whole thing with the first one that went on, and then on this one, it's nothing to do with that. These guys were always evil. Christopher Robin thought they were just good, and he was just, because of the loss of his brother, he turned this experience into good experiences, even though the first time we see Pooh is Kid Pooh, he's eating somebody's corpse, right? He's just eating some flesh that's out there. But the doctor decided that these kids, they couldn't survive anymore, so he took them out into the field, shot them all, and then buried them, and then the janitor guy shot the doctor and buried him along with the kids. And then when he went to go back and check up on the kids, he noticed that the kids had dug themselves out of the ground. And so that means that these are definitely those kids. So it comes out to find out that Pooh, of course, is Christopher Robin's brother, right? Like, who didn't fucking think that? That's a major fucking spoiler, but I don't give a shit when it comes to this movie. Like, you were warned at the very beginning, but it's his fucking brother, okay? The fact that that's what our big revelation is, the moment they said experiments and Pooh at the beginning, the moment at the beginning where they said he had a brother, I'm like, Christopher Robin has a brother, Winnie the Pooh is his brother. Like, it's so easy to put two and two together because you know where it's going, and that's one of the things that, like, dude, you wrote Summer of '84, which is such a good film and has such an ingenious twist at the end of it that nobody saw coming, and such good characters and just a good feel-good story for the most of it until you hit the fucking devastating end. What happened? How did you write this? I don't get it. So Pooh and his crew are mutants? That's what you want me to believe? That there's somebody out there creating somebody? There's like an evil Professor X that's going to be out there that helped create these people and brought them together like they were the fucking X-Men? Now they're going to be the fucking Avengers going through? Like, and the worst thing is that they try to make a flaming chainsaw cool. It doesn't work. Like, literally, he has a chainsaw, and I hate it when you hear the chainsaw noises going on, like it's running, but you don't see the chain moving at all. And he, like, it's going, and he hits it against a car door, and then it catches on fire, so he has a flame chainsaw. And then, like, and Christopher Robin is beating the shit out of Winnie the Pooh at this point, too, before he attacks him with the chainsaw. And the moment the chainsaw goes on fire, he's like, oh, fuck it, I gotta fucking leave this place. And he tries to run away, and then it's him escaping, till eventually we see, God, I jump around a lot, and I apologize, but there's a scene with a girl that he likes, and she's watching this little kid, and there's an Easter egg of Freddy versus Jason, and and there's also the movie that's playing on the wall, the actual original Blood and Honey, but it's modified to where, like, when he's about to kill somebody, he's go, it's pooing time. Like, okay, that's why you're trying to make it like, oh, it's a parody of what I did before. And the kid's wearing, like, a hockey mask, but not a specifically Jason hockey mask, just like almost like a Casey Jones hockey mask, and he's running around with Freddy fingers and a machete. So, like, Freddy versus Jason, get it? Because that's what they want to do with these things. They're a big fan of Freddy versus Jason movies, as they've said multiple times. And so there's one night where, like, Pooh breaks in the house, and the girl and the boy, and they drop the phone on the bed, and everybody's trying to call, but nobody goes back for the phone. Like, you drop the phone, the first thing you're going to try to do is call the police if somebody's broken in your house. But no, they go run into, like, a makeshift tent and then use a car that has a camera on it, and they drive it downstairs. Like, it perfectly falls down the stairs and lands perfectly so that it can start driving around the living room until it finds Pooh, and Pooh steps on it. But nonetheless, so Pooh tried to kill her. And so she's running to go catch up with them because she got a call from her friend that was doing the rave, and everything's going to shit over there. So she tries to track down Chris. And when she finally does, and Chris is about to be killed by Winnie the Pooh, that's where she jumps on top of him. But beforehand, Owl is, like, flying through the air, and he says the line, I have found you, my prey, and then does dick with her. Does nothing. Period. Doesn't swoop down on her. There's a scene where a kid is watching birds. A kid, this is one of the funny ones that wasn't supposed to be funny, but a kid is watching birds with his dad, and he's looking, oh, that's a cardinal. Oh, that's a red-crusted blue jay pellet. And then, oh my God, what the fuck is that? When he sees Owl, and then he runs away, and then the dad goes, what do you mean? He goes to reach down for the binoculars, and Owl swoops down and fucking grabs him off screen and kills the dad. And then you see, like, his arms in the goddamn river floating down. So we know he's quick and he can kill, but he lets her go. He doesn't do shit to her. Absolutely nothing. You're telling me that that's what's going to happen in this. So She jumps on Pooh's back because, of course, she's able to stop Pooh from attacking Christopher Robin. And so Pooh eventually throws her on the ground and starts like shoving her face closer and closer to the running chainsaw. And that's where Christopher Robin, he's like, "Hey, Pooh, our relationship's over," or whatever the fuck he says, and then slices his head in half with an axe. Before he does that, Pooh looks at him and goes, "Oh, bother." I'm supposed to laugh at that. It's not fucking funny. It's fucking stupid. So that's how Pooh dies. And then the end credit scene that they have, it's not like, I would say it's a mid-credits kind of scene, is that we see Pooh with his head like half falling off. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Piglet got his head blown off with a shotgun when they met the hunters for the first time before they killed all the hunters. And so we see Owl, and his hand is dipping into the jar of honey, and it's like he's just stuck it in somebody's, vagina that's been really like gushing the whole time, and it's all creaming down the sides of his hand, and we're constantly having to watch this shit. And then he's gonna go heal Pooh with the honey because he says that our friendship heals all. And then the movie ends. And it's just, there's just so much nonsensical stuff that happens in this movie, and I've probably gone way longer than I should for this fucking review for this goddamn film. But I think that, like I said, I think the gore is good. I just think the story is stupid. I think that the scene to scene type of things are just so out of whack, and you tried to make it somewhat serious, but it ended up being just kind of laughable, and you can guess things coming a mile away, and there are kills that are off screen while you have some really pretty good kills on screen as well, and very gory kills on screen, but some of them you can't do. So what did you cut out of that 6 minutes? I bet you it's more shadow fucking kills. They're like, well, I only have 3 shadow kills, I can't have fucking 19, because they kill everybody at the rave, right? And that's your big kill count for the movie. This movie has a much bigger kill count than the first movie. It's almost like, the best way that I can describe this is Terrifier and Terrifier 2. And I know what you're going to say, Brian, how can you compare this to Terrifier and Terrifier 2? Because Terrifier was very low-key in its kills, but they were extremely brutal, whereas Terrifier 2 went above and beyond and made them really over the top and disgusting. I still cannot get the salt on the back scene out of my fucking mind. And Terrifier 2 is an excellent movie. Even though it's gory and it has times where the story is a little nonsensical, it's okay because you have a great villain in Art the Clown. You do not have a good villain in Pooh and the Gang. The only one that's relatively good is Tigger, and he's in it so little that he might as well have not been in it. Now they're talking about adding Kanga and Roo and adding Rabbit into the next movie. Supposedly in the big Assemble movie, they'll be in that movie, or they'll be in Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 3 whenever they decide to do it. But I just feel like there's a little bit of wasted potential in this movie where they could have gone in different directions to make it a little more solid in terms of story. And I would have loved to see more of the turmoil in between Chris and himself. Almost, honestly, I kind of want to see a Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2 with this movie, where I want to have the character dealing with an inner turmoil of he might actually be Freddy Krueger or he might actually be Pooh. And maybe everything that happened in the first movie really was in his head and he was the one causing it, to find out that no, Pooh actually exists, right? Or even like you could even do like a high tension type of thing if you've ever seen that movie before. Like, I think something like that would have been interesting to do and to see. But if you're going to be cheesy and you're going to be gory and the whole thing about this is just to have Winnie the Pooh killing people, then you've succeeded in what you're doing, right? And there's going to be a lot of people that really enjoy this. So, I mean, overall, this is, a 2 out of 5, that's my lines, bitch, right? And that's also what Tigger says all the time is bitch. There's one, he pushes over one lady and he's like, get over here, you neon bitch. Like, he's really trying to be the Freddy Krueger of the movie, is the way that Tigger fucking acts, right? And I I didn't have high hopes for this movie. I really didn't. I saw the trailer when it came out, and I was like, oh my God, looks like they're retconning some stuff. They're doing things a little different. They did kind of continue the story. They did retcon a couple of things, and the biggest one being that Winnie the Pooh was never a good guy. He's always been evil, right? And the reason that he's evil is because he's a science experiment that was worked on with kids, and the animal instinct took over more than anything else. And the big thing, I think, my theory is that Owl is the doctor. That for even though he got killed, I think he injected himself with whatever it was, and he was an animal. And then when everybody was risen back, Owl was risen back as well, because he looks older and wiser than the rest of them, and he's kind of the leader of the group. And that's why I think that he's the good doctor, and why maybe he didn't get involved in the fight. And that now we know how Piglet came back from the first movie to this movie, and now we know that Winnie the Pooh will also be back into the next movie, and his head will heal together because the power of honey heals all. So yeah, like I said, this is only available in theaters for I think 2 nights. I think it's or 3 nights. So the day that I watch it, which is the 26th, 27th, 28th, it is out. If you wanted to see it and you were watching this review, I'd say go see it. Give it a check. Tell me if I'm wrong with it. If you've seen it, I'd love to know what you think. I know, I know a lot of people. I think this is on par with the first one. I think, like I said, I think there are things with the first one. I think continuity-wise, in terms of I can't believe I'm saying this, in terms of the story, I think the first one is a lot more solid than this one, right? But I think that the kills and gore is way better in this one, and the makeup is way better in this one. But I think that overall, with my enjoyment, I kind of enjoyed the first one a little bit more, even though I didn't really enjoy either. So, that all being said, thank you guys for checking out the review. If you want to see more of these things, like and subscribe. I'm trying to get back on a good schedule. There's a couple of movies that have come out and Shudder and a couple of things that I'm going to try to do a little more video reviews on and try to push a little more content onto this channel. We are going to see Godzilla versus Kong, or Godzilla X Kong Dynasty, or whatever the fuck it's called. I don't know. You guys should have just seen Godzilla -1 instead, to be honest with you. I'm still going to go see it because I like the Legendary movies, but after seeing -1, I want another one of those. Like, everybody should be seeing -1. So, but nonetheless, so there'll probably be a review up for that when we get to that, as we're going to see it this weekend. And there will be a new podcast available on, let's see, Saturday, March 30th. So if you're watching this, if you're watching later, then the podcast has already come out. But make sure you check it out. And you follow me on X, which is T_T_podcast. And I'm always, right now, I'm kind of on Twitter, on Twitch quite a bit. And that is Terrible Terrors out there on Twitch. And all the other socials you can find through the links below. And if you like the content, like I said, like and subscribe. And please just let me know if there is something else that you'd like me to do a video review on. If there's a movie that you think would be right up the alley, something that's more recent, or something that maybe is not right for the podcast, and I can talk about it here. I might try to do more foreign stuff on this channel, because if you've ever seen the podcast before, the issue with the podcast that I always have is that everything I do has to be in English because it's an audio medium, and I feel that the majority of the audience doesn't understand what the fuck it would be, the characters would be saying if I had something in Spanish, which I love Spanish horror, or if I had something Japanese, which I love Japanese horror, or Taiwanese horror is up and coming. Some of Indonesian horror is up and coming, German, French. Like, if I had it in a language that the majority of the audience didn't understand, it would make for a bad time, right? I mean, I could talk about it, but it might be fun to show off that movie in a video review. So please let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll definitely see you next time. Bye, guys.